Nick gave us a lot of stuff, a lot of information, recordings, video, audio, photographs, and stories. I mean,
Yeah.
constantly, right?
Yeah, but also Nick, loved his father and would, if it wasn't for Brian and I, Brian Curry, who also wrote it, he would have come across like, Father Teresa, and he was like, no, he would never do. I said, Nick, look at his letters. We have those letters.
He's a racist.
He was a total racist. But, and he was like, well, no, but he didn't really. I said, it's in writing here.
It'll be more interesting if you're honest about
Yeah.
it.
And, he would have, he was protective of his father. But on the other hand, when push came to shove, we were like, come on, this isn't, about making your dad look great. Your dad was a great guy by all accounts, but he had his flaws, and let's be true to those.
And that makes for the contrast with Doc Shirley. Yeah. And he was there. I mean, Nick was there every day watching everything, and Brian, which was great help.
Yes.
Because then he would say, well, that sounds like him, or you could do a little more.
Yeah.
It was like a family outing every day, and it was, and he was, obviously he's sensitive and sometimes was moved by just the fact that we were telling the story. I mean, I could have had a long red hair down to here, and he would have still thought I was just like his dad. I mean, he was, we would sometimes, after a take, I would obviously look at Pete, does that seem right? He goes, yeah, or let's do another one. And I would always look at Nick just that there was something about his dad. But it wasn't always useful because let's say I'm eating hot dogs or whatever I'm doing, and then I'd look at Nick and he'd be like crying and be like, okay, I'm not talking to you.
Well, he learned, even the way Tony Lip smoked, he learned how he smoked from the friends. The guys would impersonate him.
That's true.
And he held the cigarette the exact same way that Tony Lip held it. You didn't, go like this. He always had this different kind of thing. Right. And also the other thing that was helpful, the family in the movie, the older guys, one's Tony Lip's brother, and the other one is his brother-in-law. And one of the other guys in that group is Tony Lip's son, his other son.
Yeah, so there were non-actors. It was it was fun.
They were on set, so they were watching him, and they're like, God, perfect.
Well, stability, I guess, in terms of his gestures and the way he speaks, but that's not the way I speak. It's not the way I move. It's not the way I eat, or I would weigh 500 pounds. So I had to work with Nick Vallelonga and other people, and with a fork and knife to get to that point. No, I mean, it was a character I had to find a way to play. It was different than me, and that was a good challenge. Stability. Well, I mean, he does evolve. He has a lot of flaws, but he is someone who has an open mind. He's someone who likes to talk. He likes to hear what other people have to say. He might get annoyed about it. He might disagree. But he's someone, in the end, you realize, and this is true about both the characters, Doc and Tony, they're open. They have open minds in the end, and they learn from each other. And I think they do change. It may be subtle, but in some ways it's not so subtle. I mean, the fact that when we return home to New York City, to the Bronx in the end, I'm not comfortable with members of my family using racial slurs. I would have never done that before the trip. I would have never even thought that there was anything wrong with saying something like that. I would have never wanted to invite Doc Shirley to my home. Why would I have a black person in our house? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that is a change. And for Doc Shirley to not think that I'm just an idiot with no culture, that's a change too. That I have something to offer him, socially, or in terms of family, or emotionally. They both evolve together, but I think it's organic. It's not one of these stories where you go, oh, I see, they're quite different, and in the end they're going to be best friends. I don't know if they're best friends at the end.
No.
There's respect, right?
They weren't, but they were friends.
Yeah.
They were friends for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Well, we did, when we were writing it, we considered telling it from the other side, and then we realized that was a mistake because really had the best story from Tony Lip himself. We had a videotape of him telling the story for like 2 hours, hour and a half, in detail. And so it would have been, it didn't feel right to start from the other side. So I guess it is Tony Lip's story, but it is what they call in the business a two-hander, which is they're both to us in my brain making that they were equals, you know, as far as importance of the character.
I think when the movie ends, you walk out there thinking, what a great story about two different men. I mean, I feel like I walk out and it was a two-hander. I don't think, oh, it was Tony's story. It was interesting. I think that both their stories are engaging. Yeah.
Eastern Promises was a one-hander. It's all him.